Good afternoon. All right, so we have covered quite a bit yesterday. Some of it was practical, some of it was theoretical. Theory was not that much, but I showed you how actually the IP addresses are working in the background. I will share you a complete channel for on a YouTube for I think if I haven't, I have I think in the past. Yeah, when I was going off on Azure to understand the subnetting. Um, and usually the next topics that are coming in the networking starts to really get a little bit, uh, I think, playing with the number games and everything. So leaving the topology and other services. So that's not included in the course, but I will still share you some resources so you can learn about those. Um, Topic for today that I'm going to look at is the topic that you will enjoy. It will be a little easier in the start, so you have already done it in Azure. It's about cloud services, advantages and its disadvantages. You already know what cloud services are. Yeah, we have worked on it in our last course. Any questions so far for what we have covered in yesterday and the previous networking classes? Okay. So I always urge everyone who is either a networking student or a software student that the first thing that you should not keep in mind that okay, this is a networking student, I don't need to know anything about software, and the software engineer thinks that I don't need to know about anything about networking. Well, that's a wrong conception. They both work in conjunction with each other. Yes, some no, some actually good part of the knowledge of the networking you might not be able to understand if I ask you to configure uh, Cisco devices, or if I ask you to configure router, or doing advanced networking. You might not be able to handle those, but uh, good part of networking is that a good part of the software is that when you are writing a code, how you will establish connections with different servers, how you will fetch the file, or how you will connect to the database that is remotely located, right? So then you will definitely need some connection knowledge of how you will go about and do that. So that could be a um, bonus knowledge, and it means you. When I work in IT, I sometimes don't even realize that this is the part of the network engineer that I have actually done here. So how I will be able to I didn't without even realizing, and how I should have called my network engineer to call this, or I should have, because I have worked in IT and IT support and network and computers and kind of a one man show in the IT when I was working. My other managers were remotely working, so I didn't have the availability of all of them at all times. I have to figure out things on my own in the network. But if the things starts to get a little bit out of my hand, and if I don't know anything about those, obviously I need somebody to help me out those, and I have, became the eyes of it. So you know, if you are working in the team, you might share some knowledge here and that this is possible, this is not possible, and then you will have reasons to understand. Yes, probably of the security reason, that is why these things are not available. So these are the most common uh, scenarios where you will be doing. Definitely, if you need to establish the connection with the server, you will definitely need the knowledge um, of networking, because definitely need to know what's the IP address of the server to which I connect to, or what's the name of the computer to which I need to connect to, what's the username and password that I need to connect to. If there is any port that you have to access to make a connection, then you will need that information as well. So that is why at that time you will need all that information. I will definitely show you a little bit of um, connectivity concept or a middleware concept today as well, that how you will establish such connections, and I'm going to show you uh, when I will be working on when I will be able to practically show you that. Let's start with the question, or the network advanced, which is looks like an advanced networking, but cloud services. There's no, you guys are no mug with cloud services now. You already know this topic came after the fact, but you should be able to answer that what is cloud services and advantages and disadvantages. So what is a cloud platform and types of cloud platform? We all know what is cloud services now by this time after taking a comprehensive course on it. So a cloud platform hosts the server hardware and operating system in the web-based data center. And it is okay if some topics are overlapping in networking for what you have already studied. I like sometimes the repetition of the topics so you are able to correlate the topics together. And the other things now, networking, you saw how networking started in the yesterday's class, and now how it has transitioned over to the cloud. So now this transition from what your understanding was, how the networking was 10-15 years ago, and now how it is being transformed and getting transformed onto the cloud. The concept of AD Connect uh, comes from there. The concept of drive sharing comes from the cloud. Remember, I created the cloud on Azure, the drive on Azure, and I was able to show you how to connect that cloud drive on my system. If I don't have the concept of what is a cloud drive, how can I get the IP? How can I get the drive share information? All the drive share is doing on the cloud is that it has added something called um, xyz.com/ whatever the cloud drive name is. The .com came into your address, and then you pasted and created that shared drive on your system. Yesterday, what we looked at was a traditional drive, shared drive, that was on the local computer that I was able to connect to. So these concepts should be now starting to be clear, that how networking was few years ago and how it is shifted from there to the cloud. And there is a reason for it, that local drives can fail, local hard drives can fail, local shares can fail, not the cloud ones. So a cloud platform enables the coexistence of hardware and software, and it offers remote connectivity to the computer services at scale. A cloud platform permits enterprises to create test applications as well as store, retrieve, analyze, and back up the data. It automatically does that for us in the data centers. Companies can also embed business intelligence into the operations, stream videos, which is business intelligence means you can create Power BI reports in the cloud using that data, stream videos or audios, which you can store in the blob storage, Azure blob storage, and deliver non-demand software on-demand software on the whole on the worldwide scale, which is software as a service, which you can provide on a whole worldwide scale. So if I will be entirely depending on the cloud, I will be using not IaaS, not PaaS, but SaaS, software as a service. Types of cloud platforms. A public cloud is a third-party cloud service provides that delivers scalable computing via the internet. Example of the public cloud computing is IBM Blue Matrix, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, AWS, and Amazon Web Services. We have access to all of those when we were discussing that in Azure section. This was a whole chapter that we covered. Private clouds are managed by the organization, and it's expensive to maintain their own data centers, which are managed by the organizational internal IT. So not relying on what's on the cloud, not have any trust on that data, so you can go on to the private cloud. There's no one stopping you for that. But you have boundaries to that, meaning that they use existing infrastructure and resources that already exist, and they cannot scale up other than what is available to their current infrastructure. And the hybrid one was hybrid cloud, which combines private and public cloud platforms, provide both scalability and security. So you can use part of your current existing hardware and make it available on the cloud, and at the same time you can have the scalability for that. If you hire blob storage or shared drive from Azure, yes, you can have availability and scalability on that, depending upon how much meat you want to put in to or the bills that you can pay, and with the added security of the cloud. Various AWS services, various cloud services, one of which is Amazon. I'm not going to go over this slide because you already know that. Second one is DigitalOcean. Some couple of them are competitors of it. So the company's scalable virtual machines are called droplets. So really doesn't matter who called what to what devices. Virtual machines are called droplets. As long as you have the concept of it now, whether if it's AWS, whether it's Azure, whether it's DigitalOcean or any other third-party company that you might hear, that should not give you goosebumps, because they are all the same but different items on the shelf. Add-on storage and tight security, allowing user to run, test, and manage production applications with ease. Kind of a similar idea. If I keep one concept straight in my mind, that I know Azure, then every slide that you will read about the cloud computing services will make it a lot more easier for you to understand. Salesforce. It's actually not a full cloud service, I would say. It's just a customer relationship management in the cloud. So you can create reports, share the reports with your clients, share the reports with the management, and it's actually still being used. Obviously, I'm not saying that, but it's a very specific tool for sales departments. So the cloud-based CRM suite allows user to access cutting-edge functionality without need to deploy costly IT infrastructure. So Salesforce is one. Obviously, other companies have jumped into cloud. If you pick up any company, let's say Oracle or even Microsoft, SAP, everyone have their IBM. Everyone has their cloud platform available you can um, where you can um, move your data into the cloud and start sharing those uh, dashboards and reports to your clients and management. Some other services are, if I talk about this, some various cloud services are Google Cloud Platform, and obviously sometimes they change different names of it, but usually Firebase, Google Suite, Orbiters, G Suite, um, all these Google terminologies, which I'm not going to fill in the blanks for you. I'm not going to test you on that. What is what does what? But in general, they are Google Cloud Platform services. And again, because they are on the cloud, the minimum that we have in our hand is the Google Drive that we use, or we can keep our items on Google Keep platform as well, and then we can access it anywhere on the phone, on the or any other device. So this is basically the summary of chapter 12. Everything that I discussed here pretty straightforward and easy after going through our previous course. I will move on to the next few uh, topics of interest. Um, I want to show you the little bit of connectivity uh, options that we have available if we are doing some programming, and if I need to connect to a server, which could be most probably an SQL server to run my queries, to run my information, to get my information which is located on the server and make reports. So obviously I will not be sitting on the server to make developments of the code, or I will not be sitting on Azure portal to do the development, and nobody will give me full access to the database services. There will be services that will be available to me, which I will have to utilize and use it on my system. So let me first of all share with you, before I move on to that. What was his name? I probably have shared this channel with you. You can go to the, if you are avid, if you want to do some further understanding of computer networks, uh, you can go over this channel if you want to click on this channel. But I'm just going to show you this video. Actually, this one is the right one. 7-second subnetting. I have shared with you guys in the past. If not, you will have this. And basically, what it does is explain you how the subnetting works. But first of all, in general, what is subnetting? Subnetting is, once you have the internet connection, you want to make different network within the entire network. That is called subnetting. I always look at this video after 5 or 6 months, because I don't usually do subnetting on my day-to-day basis as frequently as I'm doing software development. So usually I go onto this channel and look at this particular video most of the time, because it helped me understand and revive my concept of subnetting. I will I want you guys to keep this in your favorites as well, so that if you ever need help in subnetting. So what do you mean by subnetting first? Well, subnetting is something, let's say you have a network of 1.192.168.50.1, which is my router, right? So that is my first network. I want to, in my office, this is my subnet. So I want to give all the laptops and desktop the IP addresses from 192.168.50.1 to 192.168.50.255, because this every single octet of the IP address, or every single dot of the IP address which I showed you, has the capability to handle 255 IP addresses inside it. And if I pick up the last octet, which is, that means I have 255 computers that I can handle within that IP address octet. So I'll just make it here called what's it called? Yeah, yeah, that is my. So I'll just throw a. So if I type my IP address, I will type it like this: 192.168.50.1, 192.168.50.255. This is all the IP address. So this shows me that from 1 to 255, keeping the first three octets of the IP address same, I can go maximum of how much? 255 computers in a network, because every octet is 8-bit combination of zeros and ones. You start with 1, you start with 2, you start with 3, you will have a different IP address. So if I say I want to convert this one into binary, because computer only understand the binary, so this one could be referred as 0000001. This is the binary conversion of this. If I go to 2, it will be 2 will be, if I'll just say tab here, or so I will just go out here and put 2. 2 will be represented as 000000010. So that is how the binary number will be converting. So you can find it out, and it's a whole jungle of numbers that you will find out. So I'm just converting. So when you type this in your computer actually converts this IP address into the binary digit, because that's what computer understand. And as I was mentioning, everything happens so fast that you don't even understand, because it's an electronic signals, but it converts everything into binary numbers. So every time you want to break out a network into another network, or this particular network into another network, you can do it internally. And that is what is being mentioned in this 20-minute video that I'm sharing, that how you will do the networking. at the at this course, the doing the subnetting is not our goal, and it's not covered in this course even. But I am just giving you this extra knowledge here so that you have it. So take this video with you, and you can understand how the subnetting works here. It's a 20-minute video, but you can listen to it and understand how the subnetting happens. So that's one thing. This channel actually prepares you for Network Plus certification for if you want to give. It has lots of videos, and sometimes, having lot of videos in one channel makes you bored. You will not be able to cover that. Maximum 30 to 40 videos, and you are done, and you'll lose motivation about the course. So it has a lot of videos, more than that, even around 100 for this channel. And usually in this day and age, we only listen to what we need. We don't usually go and listen from video 1 to video 100, right? We just don't do that. That's not the truth of the matter. Sometimes is I have lost that habit of reading the books from going over chapter 1 to chapter 20 since the inception of YouTube. I was a good student at that time, but now I just Google my stuff and then be done with it. But I've lost the focus, and and don't read the books. Is just the way of things right now, and that's okay, because Stack Overflow and the platforms like this are there for to help you. Sometimes programming is now converted into something called mapping. As long as you know your formula and you inject the right values in it, things will work out for you. So you don't need to go from chapter number 1 to chapter number 30 for each book. And that's why reading habits are getting hit because of that. So that was one thing that I want to share with you guys. So this is for the Network Plus certification. So the chapter was completed. I have given you some extra resource to go over. Let's look at some of the feature which you probably don't know that exist in Microsoft Windows that helps you connect with different data sources with the help of IP address or whatnot, if I say. Let's start with that. There's something called ODBC. If you guys know or don't know, let me know, please. What is ODBC? Actually, I will ask you to do a little bit of Google on ODBC if you don't know about it. I'm going to open up this application fairly soon, but ODBC provides you open database connectivity. That's what it is abbreviated as. Open database connectivity, ODBC. So what it does. Okay, let's look at that. This is if I open up, I have Microsoft SQL Server installed on my system because I have given you 1 or 2 lectures on that as well. I'm going to open up. So this is my SSMS that is installed. It is called Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. I have shown you this in the past. My computer name is Kashan PC2. I have actually installed Microsoft SQL Server as a server on this system. So this computer has a big bulky, yeah. Let's look at, I will look into what you have pasted as well. So we have a big bulky database server installed on this laptop. And this server has this name attached to it. Under that, I have a database. I have something called Kimte database. I have Stayvel and some other ones that I have created. And I know I showed you a little bit in tables and I showed you a little bit in other section, but mostly tables we were working on. So if I look at this computer, and this computer has SQL Server installed, meaning it is a server that is hosting the SQL Server database on it. So you might have a dedicated server in your office which will have database installed, or you have a Microsoft Azure SQL that is being hosted on the cloud with which you want to connect to, right? How you connect with one computer, so I will remove this concept and come to the new one. So this is your server. And usually they create the server with this database server is usually created with this kind of a diagram. So this is your database server. Database server is here. And then you will have something in the middleware which is called ODBC. And then you will have an application. So data come from different sources. Data could be coming from Oracle. Data could be from any other database service or RDBMS, which is called Database Management System, which Annalisa actually mentioned here. That Microsoft Open Database Connectivity Tool interface is a C programming language interface. Well, in general, I would say it is a programming interface that makes it possible for application to access data from a variety of database management system. In this case, I am dealing with what? SQL Server, SQL Server. Is a low-level or high-performance interface that is designed specifically for relational data store based on the Google search. Yeah. So I have my SQL Server installed on my system. I need to give the data out of this server to some of the applications, so other applications can have the feed of this data. So this could be any database. This could be SQL Server. This could be Oracle. This could be MySQL or any other DBMS. From the data is coming from different sources. ODBC acts as a middleware to say that, okay, I know the data is coming from this source. I have a driver available for it. Because I have the driver available for it, whatever the information is coming from it, I will be able to connect with this database behind the scenes, and then I will just quickly provide the interfaces to different apps. And we'll try to see how ODBC works and in which app we will try to pull up the data. We will try to, let's see, pull up the data in Microsoft Excel, or we can try to pull up the data in Microsoft Access. We can try to pull up the data in Python. We can try that. I think if I have an example, I will try to pull the data into the Python, but I might have to refresh my brain on it. Pulling up it in Excel and Access, it will be easier. So usually if I type ODBC, I get 32-bit and 64-bit connection in it. So I usually go on both 32-bit and 64-bit and try to establish the connection. So let's see if I go on my 32-bit first, because you are seeing that when I clicked on the 32-bit ODBC, this kind of interface comes up on the screen. I will go to the system DSN. I will not go to user DSN, and let me delete the 32-bit from here. As you are seeing, platform that it is claiming that is supporting is 32-bit. So let me just delete it for now. So I will recreate this for you because I did the demonstration in another class. I'm going to delete it. 64-bit I will delete when I will open up the ODBC for 64-bit. So hang tough when I will be deleting this one as well and creating that one for you. But right now, let's go ahead and create it on a 32-bit. So when I'll say I want to create a 32-bit ODBC connection, I can click add. Once I click on add, this window appears in front of me. And this is the Microsoft claim, or this is the Microsoft software that has the drivers. As you see, some of them are saying, yes, driver is available for Oracle. Driver is available for SQL Server. Driver is available for Microsoft Access. So data from one application can be transmitted to another application, and that's what I'm going to do. I will get the data from SQL Server to be relayed on Microsoft Excel or even Microsoft Access. I will do that today. So let's start by creating. So these are some different drivers that are available to me. I can choose this one, I can choose this one, or I can choose this one. This looks like a most relevant one, SQL Server. So let's pick up that because that's what I'm going to do. Important thing that I need to remember now, that I need to fetch this information here, and I can right click on it and I can say connect and say what is the name of the server. So this could be the IP address, this could be the name of the server, and what is this server is, it's a database server. So if this server is on the cloud, you might get a server name called Kashan PC2 dot blah blah blah.com, right? Because that's what Microsoft Azure server will give me the link like. But if it is located on the local area network, then this will be just a server on my network, and this server actually is located on my network. I'm using Windows authentication mode on this server. I'm not using SQL Server based authentication. Using Windows authentication means I'm just using my Windows account to authenticate myself. So that's why the password is missing, because I entered it when I logged into this computer. So I will keep this a snapshot in my mind, and I'll say my server name is this. So I'll have that in my mind, and I'll go to SQL Server, and it says that what is the name of the server you want to connect to. So obviously I want to connect to which server? This Kimte server that you are looking here on the left panel, that is where I want to connect to. So I'll just say I want to make a connection with Kimte server. I can name it anything as long as I remember it. So for simplicity's sake, I will keep it the same name as the server name, the database name. And the server name, it says that where is the server located? The server name that I want to connect it to is this one. This server has to exist on my local area network. This server has to exist on my network. This server has to exist with the IP address on my network. Obviously, it does exist here because that's where I'm connected to, because this is my local machine. Or I can give the IP address. Here's my IP address. How can I get my IP address? ipconfig 192.168.50.80. Really doesn't matter if I enter this or that. So let's, for giggles, I enter my IP address. It will able to pick up. It says that what is the authentication mode that you are using. Obviously, I told you I'm using the authentication mode to connect to my server with Windows and Windows authentication mode. Windows NT means the previous old version of Windows server, how it was named as, but it is called Windows NT. Used to be called as. So this interface that you are seeing is there forever. So next, which database that you want to connect to? Okay. So let me tell you, if you are using SQL Server authentication, it will definitely ask you what is the SQL Server authentication. Right now, I don't have SQL Server authentication installed on the server, but if I would have installed, then it would have been asking me this authentication. And I know on Azure, we don't have this authentication available, I think. I'm pretty sure. And here on SQL Server, on local servers, I have this. So I will take that luxury, but I will need additional information of the login name and the password to log in to Azure portal for that database application. Sorry, I clicked it wrong. So I'll go through that motion one more time. I want to click on SQL Server. I want to connect with the KMK database. And that is my server. I can add optional description, but that's okay. I'll click next. Then it says which database that you want to connect to. So it says as soon as you give this credential related information, the next screen it says, okay, I understand you are able to connect because of this screen. If you don't have the credential, you won't be able to even connect. But because it is saying that yes, that's fine. Now if I'll click on this, it is showing me some database. See this, it has some database available. One is master, model, MSDB, TempDB. I don't have to worry about these databases. These databases are SQL Server built-in databases. So I will only worry about with my server database, which is Kimte. So let's go back and say, don't worry about this one. I don't want this one to be involved. I'm just working with my Kimte database, and I'll say next, and I'll say finish. Once I will do that, it says that this is the summary of information. And do you want to make a test connection to that database? If I'll say yes, it says yes, test is completed successfully on ODBC 32-bit. I'll click OK. As you see, now I have 32-bit ODBC connection available to me. So I'll click cancel here. Let's go and open up ODBC 64-bit because that's my usual practice. But that if I am creating connection, I create it in both, and that's a good practice to have. So right now you are seeing I opened up ODBC 64-bit, and then I go to System DSN and I'll select 64-bit ODBC. As soon as I selected it, it gives me the option to remove it. If I click on 32-bit, I will not be able to remove it because the interface of it is available in 32-bit ODBC connectivity. So let's go ahead and remove it. Let's create one more time. Add. And I'll say I want to connect to the SQL Server. Finish. And I'll say it is saying what is the database that you want to connect. Okay, one more same time motion, which I'm doing. Let's say this time I want to enter the server name. So if I'll right click and go here, this is my server name. I can select copy the server name, paste instead of IP address. I did that. So IP addresses or computer name should work in conjunction. Which database I want to connect to? KMTA database. Next. Finish. Test connectivity. Okay, test is successful. Now I have replicated the same thing on both ODBC 64 and 32 bits. So if I'll say ODBC, I have this available on the system DSM. So my system, my current system, my operating system knows that this is the connectivity established. So now the data is available on SQL Server. I have created the middleware. I have this checked. I have this checked. Now I want to bring the data in the app. Let's see if I can bring the data in the app. Different interfaces provided, different application provides different way to connect it. You just have to figure out how you will going to be doing that. If I'll go Excel and opening it, I'm going to open a blank workbook. Right now it's a blank workbook now. I want to see the data from either from SQL Server or Azure on my Excel. So if I'll click on data, and I have to refresh my brain here a little bit because I'm doing it after a long time. So if I'll go get data, and it says from where you want to get the data. Excel is very powerful and friendly to get the data from different. See, even it says that you want to fetch the data from Azure. Yes, you can. So much versatile, so much powerful. Okay, so let's go on other database and say ODBC. If you are to fetch from Azure, yeah, this is a new thing that I'm seeing now, so you can fetch from there. So let's say other database, ODBC. Once I click ODBC, it just takes a little bit time to open up ODBC connection. Let's see how much time it will take. There you go. It says, oh, yeah, I see there is a database. There are some connections that you have created. I see that you have a KMTA database from which you want to fetch the data. Correct. So if I go and click OK, it actually will now bring the data base to me. If I expand KMTA database owner, I will be able to see the tables that I see in SQL Server. The same interface is now open courtesy ODBC, that I'm able to see that same data here, and I can just preview that data, or I can just load this data here. I can do some transformation and some extra stuff with it. This is the same kind of idea which you will see in Power BI. Okay, Power BI first. Power BI also does the same thing. You can pull the data from various different sources, wherever, from Oracle, from SQL, from wherever. So this is what you will see when you will do Power BI or install Power BI on your system. This is a similar idea you will see. You will definitely need the server name. You will definitely need the database name. You will definitely need the username and password. Those 4 things are with you. You are the man, because you will get the data. Obviously, if the credentials are stored on your system, same thing with your email. If you know where to go to your Outlook account, what are the things that you need? You need to go to that web address where your emails are located. Let's say your Gmail, your Yahoo or Hotmail account. Next thing what you do, you enter your username and password. then it will load the email, all the emails, the database of all your emails in front of you. That's what has actually happened. Your username, your password, your connectivity you have established. Now you are going to load the data. I'm not going to do too much fancy stuff in here. I will just load the data. Remember, it is just showing you the data. The changes you make here to the data will not replicate back to that to SQL Server. And for the security reason, that is good, because you have given the interface to the user to just view the data, just select kind of a query information, not updating the data from here. So let's say if I load the data here you go. It takes a little bit of clicking and whatever. And it is doing its thing here. Let me stay patient with it. It usually doesn't clock out like this on me, but it has decided to. Okay, let's go back. Where is my sheet? Give me my program. It has kind of hung up on me, so it didn't really like it. Let me just close this window. So, oh, it was showing me the data. I just wasn't patient. Let's go back. It will be a re-practice for you. So open up a new Excel sheet, data, get data from other sources, ODBC. So you have to go to the data tab, okay, to get the data. And then you'll say KimK database, okay. I will choose a different table this time. Let's see let's see invoices. It's a smaller table, just few invoices. Load. So it is here where it is hanging, but I will stay patient this time. Took a little time last time, and but just about when I was about to cancel it, it did load the data for me. So wait for a couple of minutes. Let's see, it loads the data. But you saw that how I was able to connect with that information. Let me see if I can bring it while it's loading in the Excel. Let me see if I have the demonstration of it in either Python or Microsoft Access. Just give me a sec. I will show you there. I think I have in Python, but I don't have it with this database. It just doesn't like opening it here on my screen, but it wasn't doing this kind of stuff on my desktop, but it has decided to do it here on my laptop. Come on. Excel. And let's bring it up in okay, Excel is not helping me here. Let's bring up something else. Let's open up Microsoft Access and I'll say new. Similar idea. I'm just going to do it here. I'll see if I can do it here. External data. Let's pretend that we are working in Microsoft Excel. It's just not loading it here. So I'm not going to fight with it. New database, from where I want to get the database from the information from the ODBC. So if I'll click ODBC, it says that how do you want to connect? Do you want to import all the tables from there, or you want to have a link? Link doesn't mean that you will be able to change the data, but let's say start with the link one. It says that machine data source. What is that machine data source? It is that KIMT database. And as you see, it opens up the kind of a similar interface that I showed you in ODBC. And if I click OK, it shows me the tables which are available in the database. So let's say if I click customer and click OK, it will actually bring in the data from the customer table. So let's say if I open up, here you go. I'm able to see or show you the data that is available in Microsoft SQL Server is now being interfaced here in Microsoft Access. And that's what actually I'm hoping to have done in Excel. As soon as I do that, it kind of perhaps creeps out on me. Excel is kind of wonky. Ideally, I would like to show you in Excel, but if it is not helping me, I'm going to not worry about it. Let's go to Excel, Microsoft Access. So this is my data that I'm able to see that I was able to bring from SQL Server. If I want more database, more tables, other data source, ODBC, connection is probably established. But if I want to just have a link instead of importing the table, I can click on link and click OK. From which database that is available on the SQL Server? Yes. And I want to, let's say, bring up this time the invoices table, save this password, which is already there. Click OK. Save the password. That's fine. Here you go. It is now showing me the linked table here. And what does that mean? So it is showing me that ODBC connection is established with the KIMT database using the trusted Windows connection using the with the KIMT database with the table invoices. And that's what it is showing me. So if I double click on it, this is actually showing me the live data that is being entered in onto that system, onto SQL Server. I'm able to see that on my Microsoft Access interface. Okay. So that is what I wanted to show you. Let me see what is happening with Excel, because if I go to ODBC, let me just change some connection settings. Maybe that could be the issue. So let's remove this, add a new one. But this time I will choose a different driver. Let's say I will choose a little older driver. So SQL Server, same name. Doesn't really matter if I have a caps lock or not. KIMT server name is maybe it was due to the IP address. Maybe it didn't like that IP address, but I'm sure we can give the IP address or anything. If I try to search the server name like this, it usually hangs up. So keep that in mind, that you don't waste your time. Just get the information of the server like this, and don't click on this drop down, because then it will start to go and look for the server name all over my network. So let's do this. Yeah, I'll keep that Windows authentication. The server that I wanted to use this time, I'm going to use Kimte database. Let's say do this, finish, and click OK. Click OK. Let's change the 64-bit as well, because I just want to refresh it. ODBC 64-bit. I'll go to system DSN, going to remove, and we'll create a new one. So I'll say add a new driver, and I want to use this older one, which is very old fairly, but I will go with that because I think the new one is having some issues. So I'll go finish, just probably on my system. This is the server name. Next, I will use the Windows authentication. Next, I will choose the database to be this, finish, and test the connectivity. Testing the connectivity works. Click OK. 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 So now it is there. Now let's go back to Excel, because that's where I want to really show it to you. I'll open up a new sheet. Go to database, get data from ODBC. Hopefully it likes it this time when I pull the data. I don't know why it is not liking it in Excel, but it really actually worked in Microsoft Access. It could be due to the IP address. I can preview the data, but as soon as I do this, this kind of, you see this? It's showing me the black screen, showing me early signs of it that it will going to hang up. And that's why I'm not liking it, doing it here in Microsoft Excel. Probably on my other desktop, it is going to work. So let me load it one more time. If it doesn't work out, hang tough. Yeah, it's just not liking it on my current laptop. So I'll just leave it at there. But lucky you that I was able to show you that, yes, I was able to pull the data in Microsoft Access. But the ingredients, main part is the ingredients. As soon as I do this, you will see that it will show me for a blink of a second. It might show me. It showed me the data for a minute and then it crashed. So something is happening, but it is showing me the data. But something is wonky. But point is, yes, you can bring the data on Excel. You can bring the data on different applications. Let me see if I have one more example. Here we go. Python. I did created one for myself when I was working on it. When Python is installed on your system, how many of you guys, first of all, tell me, how many of you guys have worked with Python?
Yeah,
You guys have worked with Python? Okay. Have you worked the database part of the Python? Yeah, you can type it. That's fine. Anybody else in the class, they can come forward and let me know. I just wanted to know what you guys have worked with.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it's just a little bit of echo.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah, that's fine. I think you have two logins. Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
so I was just saying that yeah, we did Python, but we didn't really incorporate a lot of database stuff into it.
Yeah.
Maybe we learn how
Okay.
to parse through data. Maybe.
Okay, good. Okay, we'll see a very small example of it today. Um, so you guys did that in programming fundamentals course?
We actually had like a separate class, a whole class dedicated to Python, JavaScript, and Java, and so all
Okay.
separately, so different courses.
Okay, good, good. Let's look at this. I know then you guys might have been familiar. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with install the packages in Python using pip install and whatnot, right? You might know how to do that. I'm not going to go into that detail, but here my main motive is to show you that this was the copy of the code that I got. And I said, okay, I need to connect to the Python ODBC connector, which is called PyODBC. I will need to probably type pip install PyODBC on when I have full Python installed. Uh, I'm actually assuming that you guys all know how to install packages in Python using pip install. So that is one thing. The other thing, that once it is up and running, the Python is installed, the pyodbc package is installed, what are the four things that I needed? I needed the driver to which I want to connect to, the server name, the database name, the credential. Because the credentials are trusted connection credentials coming from Windows, I don't need to provide the username and password. But if they are not, I would be actually coding that username and password in here. So let's say if I will launch my Python, in which editor I have here. I have Python editor. So if I can just double click, open with, I'm just thinking what Python editor should I use. Let's say Visual Studio Code I have. Yeah, I think I have done this in Visual Studio Code. I opened up this in Visual Studio Code. So the way I did it is I went into my Python file, this Python file that I have. I right click on it and open with in my Visual Studio Code. It opens up this in my Visual Studio Code. And now if I see, I want to debug Python file. Yeah, here you go. It is showing me, it showed me some warning, but I'm not worried about that. It is showing me that which table I'm connecting to. I'm connecting to the products table. After giving all the connectivity issues, connectivity part, I said on the connection that I have established, please run cursor means loop. So I want fetch all the records in a cursor, meaning all the records are now are stored in this. The connection is established, and I want to select all the records from the products table, and I want to print it out on the screen. So that's what it has done. If I run this program, it has actually run this for me, showing me item number 1, 2, 3. 3 items are in there. Let's go back into this products table and add it. I want to show all the rows. And if I open up this rows, 3 products are here. 1, 2, and 3. And the prices. And that's what it is showing me here. So, as you have seen, whether it's Microsoft Access, whether it is Microsoft Excel, which is creeping out, whether it's Python, what things I needed? 4 things. the name of the driver of the server, which you probably need to install in case of Python. In Microsoft Access, I did not need to do that because my ODBC connection, which is the Windows built-in utility, was giving me that. But PyODBC is not a built-in utility. I have to install it on top of my Python. But the networking part is that I need to have a SQL Server driver, whether it's Microsoft Azure or whether it is SQL Server. I will need to provide this driver. I don't know whether they name it differently for Microsoft Azure, because I tried to only connect it to my server and I don't have Azure SQL running on my account anymore because I don't need it. But if I need it, I will need to provide that server driver. Next thing I will need is the name of the server which I want, and then I need to have a database and the credentials. These credentials could change system to system. This database name could change system to system. Server name could change system to system. The driver will change depending upon which database management system you are using. If you are using Oracle, you might see something called Oracle. If you are using Microsoft Access, you might see a different driver here. But different applications can connect to different applications using different drivers. You need drivers to make the connectivity. In case of Microsoft, it is called as ODBC. In Python, it is called PyODBC. So after establishing the connection, I said, whatever the connection is established, please let me fetch the data from this table called product. And I can do whole lot of, this is just a tip of the iceberg. This is a very bare bone basic application just to test out that can I make a connectivity? Yes, I can. So first thing first is to get over this connectivity issue. Once the connectivity issue is over, you will then run the commands or loops or whatever you want to do in programming to do that. It was fairly easy in Microsoft Access and Excel because I don't have to write any code. They automatically go and fetch it for you. In Python, obviously, it's a programming language, so I need to write a code. So is there any question now about ODBC and what is PyODBC? How we can connect different applications with different applications? Different database applications with this programming application. So we started with the cloud computing today. My second motive was to show you how you will be able to connect with the servers. So if you have a concept of how to connect with the server, so first of all, that it has to be on the network. Obviously, your company will know that we have a server running on our network, or we have a Azure server that is available on the network. What are the ingredients as a programmer you think you need to make a connection to that brings in a little bit of knowledge of your network. Yes, if it's on the network, then we'll need to get the network server name. If it's on Azure, we need to get the Azure server, and depending how it is being set up on local or how it is being set up on the cloud, we will need all those. So you start high, you give all the permissions to that account that is going to access it, and then obviously you can squeeze in the permissions. So if anybody is writing the code in Python, he should be able to only run the select. If he is trying to insert the record, then he need to have the insert permissions on the server so that he can deposit new records onto that server products table or whichever table he is working with. So you need to fetch, you need to insert, you need to update, all those kind of for reporting purposes. If somebody is creating only the reports in Excel, he does not need to change the data. So you should be only be able to pull the data from the server. The latest data should not be able to edit the data because he just have a view permission. So then comes the security and the viewing and all that comes afterwards. Any questions on that? Any questions on what is ODBC, how the middleware is working? Remind yourself of this diagram. Is that what we have done? Pretty straightforward. Server, ODBC, apps. Apps could be Access, Python, or any other. Okay, let's take a 10 minutes break. We'll meet at 7 or 2, and from there onwards, I will actually leave you guys on your own.